welcome to Ones to Watch, powered by Football Index, where you bet on the football stock market by buying shares in the world's top players. We're joined, as always, by our resident pundit, Alan McInally. You all right,
Hello,
Al?
Emma. How are you? Yeah, fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to today?
Yeah, we'll pick 3 ones to watch. 2, I think people will be like, yeah, for sure. And 1, they'll be like, yeah, well, he hasn't quite made it yet, but he's still got that opportunity. And I think it's fair that we look to sort of all the angles for our little ones to watch.
Absolutely. Let's get cracking then. Who is our first one to watch?
Well, he scored 2 unbelievable free kicks against my old team at the weekend. But out with that, I think James Ward-Prowse has been brilliant for the last 2 or 3 years. He's certainly one of the best players that Southampton have in their books. And he's just been simply fantastic. He genuinely has. And I think he's a genuine one to watch because he really is quite an exciting young football player.
Well, you mentioned the free kicks that he scored against your team at the weekend. He became the first player to score 2 direct free kicks in the first half of a Premier League match against Aston Villa. And he's also had the most direct free kicks scored in the Premier League since 2016-17. Pretty impressive stuff, that, Al.
Yeah, I mean, your stats are brilliant, Emma, because for the simple reason, look at all the players that have played in the Premier Division and he's got the top stat. You know, he's the guy, he's the man. It's a specialised subject, taking free kicks and managed to get them. And incidentally, as an add-on from that, as an ex-football player, as a striker, as someone who tries to stay in around the box, when James is taking the free kick, it's not about, oh, hope he scores. For the other team, if he gets it on target and the goalkeeper saves it or puts it onto the crossbar or hits the post and comes back out, for me, that's brilliant. I mean, if he sticks it in the back of the net, we're away, we're like, brilliant, even better. But in terms of creating more chances, I'm thinking he's definitely hitting the target. If the goalie doesn't save it properly, I've got a tap in. He's just such an asset for Southampton.
I mean, take away his set-piece ability, Al. Does he have enough to be a top midfielder, do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Has he played for, I don't know, has he played for England? I don't know.
4 caps he's got for England.
See, I would think I would think he would be genuinely a little bit disappointed in that. I think he's got the quality. I mean, he doesn't give the ball away very often. You watch him at the weekend. He's certainly a player that other players give the ball to because he knows he's good. I think his range of passing is excellent. I mean, it's a step up to be an international football player. Of that, there is no question. But does he look as if he's an international football player to me? Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's... I would think of the players that could be in the England squad, I think he would give Gareth Southgate a real headache because I think he's good enough to play at that kind of level. And I think he's proved it over the last year and a half. He seems reliable. His discipline is very good. And certainly, like I said before, he's done just fantastic. And Ralph Hasenhüttl must be just brimming with confidence every time he puts him on the team sheet.
And that is why he's our first one to watch. Thanks for that, Al. Feel free, as always, to have your say in the comments below. Right then, second one to watch, Al.
Yeah, he came with an injury, I think. You're going to tell me how much Chelsea spent on him because I can't remember.
36 mil Chelsea paid
for Hakim Ziyech from Ajax. He's also an international football player, he's Moroccan, and we'll see how good he's going to be. I'm not going to say he's going to get the likes of 15 goals, but in terms of what Frank probably wants, he's an added addition to the squad. He obviously thought that he might be able to create more chances because I know that was, I can't remember where I saw it. You're going to tell me in a minute. I'll just when I stop talking here. But he's a player, I think, that as flair players go, I think Ajax are probably gutted they've lost him, and Chelsea are delighted he's there.
Well, yeah, you have a look at his 1920 Eredivisie stats. Played 35 games, 8 goals scored, provided 21 assists. So it's fair to say he's the assist king, isn't he, Al?
Yeah, that's you put it better than I did. That's exactly why I think Frank spent that kind of money on him to create the chances for Werner, Havertz, and everybody else, Tammy Abraham, Giroud, etc., Pulisic, etc., and hopefully that he has that wizardry to either put the ball in the back of the net. And he's had a decent start, to be fair. I mean, it's very, very early on, but I genuinely think he's a bona fide one to watch because, you know, Chelsea are expecting big things from him.
Well, do you know, it'll be interesting as well to see what Chelsea fans think. So feel free to have your say in the comments below. And just finally, Al, with all their attacking options now, what do you think of Chelsea's chances in the league and Champions League this season?
Oh, well, look, is there more expected of Chelsea, Emma, would you think? They've spent, what, 200 million?
Money spent, I would assume their expectations are pretty high, are they not?
There you go. You've nailed it. Without me saying, we'll put it quite bluntly, if you spend the guts of 200 million or whatever it was, I can't remember. I'm sure someone will let us know on the One to Watch feed. I don't think finishing 5th or 6th would be acceptable. And I think a run in the Champions League is paramount for Frank, that they're in the position where when they're bringing players in, that's the table they're dining at. It's as simple as that. I mean, do I think that they'll upset Liverpool and Manchester City? Possibly not. And it's not, after all, a quick fix. This is he's brought players in that they're hoping they're going to be, if not this season, then next season, the following season. And that's maybe where Frank should be given the time to work with the players he's brought in and the money he's spent. And hopefully they'll be in a position that, Chelsea were, 4, 5, 6 years ago. But I think there's a lot of optimism at Chelsea, but at the same time, to get to where Liverpool and Man City were is difficult. And let's face it, we know how difficult it is to win the Champions League. Quarterfinals minimum for me, and at least challenging for 3rd or 4th. You would think, okay, yeah, Chelsea are going in the right direction. If they don't reach that, then they'll be very, very unhappy football fans at Chelsea Football Club after spending that kind of money.
Well, we'll hand that over to you as well, Chelsea fans. What are your realistic expectations and targets for this season? Our 3rd and final one to watch, Al?
Yeah, we normally pick somebody that are not necessarily household names, but in terms of, very prominent players, probably looking for them to really go sort of stratospheric. And I've picked Rob Holding as our 3rd one to watch. A lot of people have probably forgot he's at Arsenal. And I can't remember how much they bought him for from Bolton, and you can tell me in a minute. But I think it's good to put a player in that when you hear a manager like Arteta talking about Holding, he's just one that I'd kind of forgotten about. But he seems to have done a decent job this season so far. Horrendous injury problems, by the way, but certainly one of the players that I think is a good one to have to watch, because he seems to be going a little bit more in the right direction than what he maybe prior was a couple of years ago.
I think you're right there, Al. I mean, he joined the 2 mil from Bolton.
That's all it was, £2 million.
£2 million, yeah.
Wow.
In 2016. And you're right about, sort of the backing of the manager. Mikel Arteta said on his recovery, that's the culture that we're trying to create here. He recovered within 10 days, expected to be 3 or 4 weeks. And that kind of feeling for someone like Rob, he probably feels like he's got a bit of a second chance under Arteta, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Emma. I think you're absolutely spot on. And you bring a good point to when the manager's giving him a pat in the back to say, some players are quite happy earning whatever they earn, I don't know, £1 billion a week, and they just sit on the treatment table for 3 or 4 weeks. But you've got to be a certain type of football player when you look out the window and you see the lads all training, and you don't want to be on the treatment table. I can assure you, my career finished with 1 tackle, and I looked out the window every day for a year and a half, wanting to be out there and certainly not on the treatment table. So he's had a few injury problems. If he's trying to get back in, I think Arteta will love that kind of attitude. And we'll just have to see how far that attitude takes him. He's certainly been, of all the positives at Arsenal at the moment, in which we know, defensively they've been criticised heavily, Arsenal. So Arteta's obviously trying to put an arm around him a little bit and say, hey, this position is open for you. It's entirely up to you. If you take it, Rob, there's your opportunity.
And, he's a bit of a Wembley specialist, Rob. 4 games, 2 FA Cups, 2 Community Shields, not been capped by England. But do you think this could be his best chance this season? This
might be his only chance. Again, Gareth Southgate's defence is a specialised position where there's a position up for grabs. And if Rob Holding has a wonderful season and he stays injury-free, then you've got to think that he has the opportunity, because, let's face it, he's not been in the limelight for as long as he wanted to. If Arsenal do well, then, and Rob Holding's doing well, then surely he has to be considered. He's still got a little bit to go, but at least it looks as though under Arteta, this might be Rob Holding's best chance to be a first pick in the Arsenal team, first and foremost. And if he is, then obviously maybe the next step is an England international cap, which would be fabulous for Rob Holding. But of all the players we've picked, I just think for him to be a one to watch, he seems to be over the last 3 or 4 weeks certainly on a decent trajectory that his manager seems happy with.
Do you reckon that he'll keep his place when David Luiz returns to fitness, though?
Well, that'll be the $64 million question, and we'll see if Arteta genuinely thinks he's done so well with his injuries coming back, his form is so good, or he plays alongside David Luiz, maybe. And that will be able to tell us how much. Well, listen, he's give Rob Holding the opportunity to have a position in the football team, so he likes Rob Holding, and he's putting him forward to be one of his defenders. He's got another player that's on an extraordinary amount of money, Ozil, who can't even get in the squad. So he's on the right track on that particular thing. David Luiz is one of the sort of key players at Arsenal, but I would imagine if possible, he would like to play him alongside David Luiz. Again, it's a position at Arsenal that they've been blamed or they've been considered as flaky and not good enough defensively. But quite literally, it's a position where he's got the opportunity to make it his own if he really wants it. And you're going to tell me he was going to leave in the summer to someone, and I can't remember who, but there's been a couple of... Who was it?
No.
So Newcastle fancied him, and Arteta has obviously said, no, listen, you have an opportunity here. Because if Arteta had said, look, I think you should go to Newcastle, or whoever else might have been interested in him, because you're not going to play here, then he would have gone already. But the fact he stayed, I think, says something about Rob Holding, about his attitude, and what Arteta thinks they can get out of him. So that's why I've really put him in for one to watch, and we'll have to see if it goes that way or it goes that way.
Well, Arsenal fans, feel free, as always, to have your say in the comments below. Please do let us know what you think. Alan, thank you as always. And you had a fresh trim this week, especially for us. Thank you.
Well, we're on this month lockdown thing again, aren't we? And the thing with the hairdresser's not going to be open, so I thought...
By week 4, you're going to look like you've crawled out of a cave, aren't you?
No,
so
I'm going to have hair. I'm going to have hair your length. That's what's going to be like.
It'll be like
yes.
you do.
Thank you for noticing. But anyway, yeah. So with a bit of luck, we've picked 3 good ones to watch there, and you have a lovely week.
Thank you. Cheers for that, Al. And thank you, as always, for joining us on Ones to Watch, powered by Football Index, where you bet on the football stock market by buying shares in the world's top players. We'll see you back here next week. See you, Al.
Bye, Em.